What if I told you that training actually is fairly simple? Now, despite everything that you see online, how to build muscle, how to get a six-pack, what burns belly fat, it really isn't that complex. Now, you may see me and look from this part up and say, that guy doesn't train. But let me tell you where you're wrong. I've actually trained for a handful of things. Recently, I've trained for Ironmans, I've trained for marathons, I've trained for half marathons, I've trained for ultra marathons. I've also competed in powerlifting. And since 2019, I've done over 5,000 one-on-one personal training sessions. So I have my fair share of skin in the game. And I want to share with you a couple principles that I have when it comes down to training to show you how simple it actually is. Number one, there is no perfect number. You can train 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 days per week. But most people that I've worked with, they train either 2, 3, or 4 days a week. That gives them either 1 rest day per week if they're training 4 days a week, 2 rest days for 3, or if they're training 2, they can obviously have their 3 rest days. Now, if you're someone who wants to train 2 days per week, I would probably stay with 2 total body days. Therefore, if you do miss a day, you can always hit the second day and it's still total body. It's not, oh, I hit on Tuesday, upper body, I skipped my lower body on Thursday, and then I'm not gonna hit lower body again until the following Thursday. That's why I would do total body. If I was doing 3 days per week, I would probably do a total, an upper, and a lower. Whatever order you want, I used to do it in this order. Upper body, start the week on a Monday. Wednesday, I would do lower body, and Friday, I would do total body. Therefore, if you were to miss one of them, I would prioritize the upper and lower sessions, and then total can also be the one that gets bumped. If I were to train 4 days a week, I would go upper, lower, in any order that you want. Again, I like to start the week with an upper and finish the week with a lower. I recently trained for an Ironman where I actually switched the end of the week. So I went upper, lower, off day, lower, upper. Therefore, my legs were fresh going into the weekend. Number two is something that is very often overlooked because as a coach, as the trainer, you want to try and impress your clients. But the reality of it is you should be doing the same exercise for anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how new your clients are or how new you are to training. If you're someone who's brand new, you could do the same exercise for 8 weeks. Yes, I would change the amount of weight that you're using and I would change the amount of reps that you're doing, but the exercise itself does not have to change. If you're someone who's a little bit more skilled and maybe you're in a little bit more of a compressed cycle, maybe every 4 weeks changing up the exercise would be the ideal number for you. But changing the exercise too often is not actually confusing the muscle. It's actually not giving your body the chance to adapt. Number three, there's really only 6 things you need to worry about. You need to worry about a push, a pull, a hinge, a squat, a lunge, and obviously some sort of core exercises. Now, when you break that down, the push is obviously a vertical and a horizontal. The pull, same thing, a vertical and a horizontal. Hinge, right, you can have a bilateral or unilateral. More simply said, single leg and double leg. Squat is the same thing, single leg, double leg. Obviously, you have your lunge variation. I tend to tell people, don't just lunge forward, obviously lunge backwards and do lateral lunges, right? I'm a PT for so many years. I don't know if it's a frontal plane, sagittal plane, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure you're doing multi-directional work. And last but not least, you need to do some sort of core. Core needs to do some sort of flexion, some sort of extension, and some sort of rotation and anti-rotation work. If you're doing those sort of core exercises, you're great. If you're somebody who's still laying on the ground, pumping out crunches, I don't think they're the best for your core, but who am I to tell you? Number 4, all rep ranges work. There's been so much discrepancy recently. Should I be doing low reps, anywhere between 1 to 5 reps, which we would say is near max strength or, top strength, or should I be doing anywhere between 6 to 8 or 8 to 12 reps? What do I need to be doing? I keep it very simple. I want to make sure I'm using those as buckets, right? So I want to make sure I'm filling in every bucket. So what I tend to do is I tend to stay in that 6 to 8 range for my strength exercises, and then every third time through it. So if I do 1 month, I'll do 6 to 8. Second month, maybe I'll do 5 to 8. The third month after that, I'll drop it down and I'll maybe go 3 to 5 as my true strength. But then when it comes to my auxiliary work, the auxiliary work for me is always in that anywhere between 8 to 12, 8 to 15 range, especially if I'm using more single joint focus exercise. Maybe I'm doing just a bicep curl or some triceps. I'll go ahead and hit some volume. When it comes to the core work, anything over 12, I tell people that is cardio. We are no longer doing strength. That is cardio. I know you've seen it in CrossFit, you've seen it in High Rocks, but I got news for you. If you want to get strong, I would stay anywhere in that 6 to 8 range as kind of like your money range. And then if you want to start working to some serious strength, I would drop that down anywhere in that 3 to 5, 3 to 6 range. I can't remember this number 4 or number 5 because because this is my first time shooting a YouTube video, but you need to remember, kettlebells, dumbbells, and barbells, they all work, right? I have been skilled and used all of them. I learned on a barbell. That's what I learned when I was working, when I was playing youth football and we were doing strength and conditioning. We learned how to bench, squat, and deadlift using the Bigger, Faster, Stronger program. So I used a ton of that stuff. Obviously, I got good at dumbbells because that's just what I had laying around my house. And then it wasn't until I was coaching college sports that I got proficient in kettlebells. And now I love using kettlebells, but it doesn't have to be one or the other. You can mix modalities because a 40-pound dumbbell and a 40-pound kettlebell both weigh 40 pounds. You choose what is best for you. You choose what you like to work best with. If you want to use a barbell, be my guest, use a barbell. What I will tell you is when it comes time to actually loading up some seriously heavy weight, the biggest limiting factor you have a lot of times with kettlebells and dumbbells is your grip, and the barbell allows you obviously to put it on your back or on your front rack or when you're bench pressing using both arms at the same time. Number 6, stop comparing yourself to others. I remember when I was first starting out doing my training, I was 14 years old in a high school weight room and I was the weakest guy there. And the biggest thing I always tried to do was at the end of a session, after I had already done my session, was I tried to load up the barbell with either 135 or 185 pounds and try and do as many reps as I can just because I wanted to get that extra effort. I was trying to, make myself as strong as I can, as quick as I can. But the issue was I wasn't letting my body adapt or let my body rest. And I found that out the hard way once I started training in college, that if you really stress the body, let it adapt, and then come back and stress it again, eventually your body will adapt and get stronger. But don't worry about what everyone else is doing, right? You are on your own path. You are trying to get stronger for yourself, right? This is about your confidence. These are your numbers. Don't worry about anyone else is doing. There's always going to be someone who's stronger than you. There's always going to be someone who's weaker than you. Hopefully, I was once that weak guy, but hopefully you eventually work your way up the trajectory and you're one of the stronger people in the room. Number 7, this is an easy one, but the most important thing when it comes to strength training is your consistency, right? Once you get hurt, you're no longer good to me, right? Once you're hurt, now you have a major setback and you need to actually work hard to get back to where you were to eventually lead yourself the curve. So you'd rather wanting yourself, leaving the weight room wanting more than completely exposing yourself and hurting yourself and not being able to come back the next day. So I always tell people, leave a little bit of gas in the tank. Don't completely max yourself out despite what you're seeing online. Leave a little bit of gas in the tank to make sure you're coming back the next day or whenever your next training day is, wanting more and excited to train again. Because again, injuries are the worst thing that can happen to you. Now I'm sure that list could be a lot longer, but I'm just riffing kind of off the top of the brain. Just took a couple notes. I'm trying to help you guys educate it with 20 years of training knowledge, 10 plus years of coaching knowledge of how I can help you guys see that the fitness industry isn't all that complex. We make it seem complex because we want to seem a lot smarter to our clients, but the reality is your clients don't really give a shit. What they care about is how quickly they consume that information, how quickly they can apply the information, and how quickly they can execute the information. Therefore, they're gonna get the best results possible. I'm not saying I'm the best coach in the game. I'm saying I'm someone who's been in the game for a long time. I still am coaching people in person daily and showing up. I'm also working with people online. If you're ever interested in working with me online, I'll drop a link in the comments below. You can click it, and obviously I'd love to work with you. But that's just a quick riff, and understand that the fitness industry is not as complex as people make it out to be, and training and getting into the best shape of your life isn't easy, but it is simple.